So I can answer this very, very honestly because I've sat with my own spirit council when I died. I have had experiences where a spirit has come to me in human form. I told them to go home a few times and they would quiet down until I wouldn't hear them. And I'm like, oh, there's a playful little spirit there. If you don't have some kind of guard up or shield up and don't know what you're opening yourself up to, things can kind of have an impact on you.
Angels, it's Hailey, Reese, and
Lana.
And back by popular demand, we have Lana here from The Hawk and I. I'm so excited to have Lana back here on my channel, and I knew that you guys would be so upset if I had her back here without asking her some of the questions that you have been dying to know. For those of you who may be new here and have yet to meet Lana, this is Lana. She's The Hawk and I here on YouTube, and Lana is an evidential medium. She is one of the most gifted people I have ever met in my whole life and one of my dearest, dearest friends. And I asked you guys both here on YouTube and on Instagram what you wanted to know from her. So today we are going to ask Lana some of your questions.
And I'm really excited to be here. And thanks so much, Hailey. It's been way too long since we've sat down together.
I know, we were calculating this morning about how long it's been since we filmed, and it's been far, far too long. So I will have Lana's channel link at the very top of my description, along with her website where you can book her Facebook page, basically every social media avenue that Lana is present on. I will have down below. Make sure to connect with her after today's video. But yes, shall we get into the questions? All right. My question is, what happens for people like me who truly don't know if anyone is on the other side waiting for me? I feel alone and I'm not privy to anything to do with spirit guides. I've had some paranormal experiences that scared me away from anything to do with it. Thank you for all you do.
That is beautiful. And thank you for your question. First of all, it's okay. I think that there's a bit of a misconception that we have to be all in order to cross over or to have somebody come for us. And that is not so. So we are all here having an experience, right? So we're all here learning, we're all here growing, we're all here having, opportunities. And do we have to have a belief or have a solid knowing or work with spirit guides in order to cross over or in order to have someone come for us? And the answer to that is no. As what you do have to be is a loving, kind human. As you learn, as you go through your experiences here.
Right.
It wasn't until, fairly recently, my journey, probably, well, maybe not that recent, it was 15 years ago, 16 years ago, that I had a profound experience with spirit guides.
Right.
And up until that point, I had done a lot of spiritual work without a lot of knowledge or even sure myself with these spirit guides. During my experience with my own life review, so when I sat with my spirit council during the time that I crossed over, that was when I had my huge aha moment and got to learn how to work with spirit guides. And, I didn't feel that because I didn't have any knowledge or belief system in them at that point in time that I was, held responsible or ridiculed or anything like that. It's all about how we go through our journey here with love and kindness. So, be a good human. And as you explore and as you navigate what resonates with you, you'll find your way through all that. And if it doesn't resonate with you, that's okay.
Hi, Hailey and Lana. I've been following you both for a few years now, and I love your content so much. I'd like to know Lana's opinion and knowledge about the month of October because I feel like this is a month where I see and feel more presences. And what can I do to protect myself and feel safer when we feel negative energy around us? Thank you so much. Love from Portugal.
Love that question, and we did touch base on in a video that's that we just filmed. So October is a very high energy month, and there's so much out there with Halloween, with fall, with spirits, whether it be spooky movies, you know, so it kind of like opens us all up because it's in our awareness, right? So when we have this awareness, it gives spirit the opportunity to kind of come in and say, hey, here I am. Then as humans, we kind of get into this, what if it's of the dark? Right? So when it comes to that kind of stuff, you know, and I say this all the time, darkness is real, just don't play in it. If you're not, and it's simply as, I'm not open to any of that. I'm not going to connect to any of that. I mean, you know, you're safe. It doesn't have to be, you know, great, big, profound rituals or 10 pounds of crystals on you, unless that resonates with you. So if you feel protected, you know, with crystals, or you feel protected with different modalities, then do that. It's what resonates with you. But even just simply saying, I'm a hard no on anything dark, I only stand on the light. Right? You can ask angels and guides to protect you. You know, I always say, you do what resonates with you for that. It can just simply be your thoughts can be enough.
If you believe it. It comes from the
if you believe
belief, right?
And fear is a powerful, powerful thing, right? Fear can create, it may not even be an entity, but fear can create an energy that you're suddenly picking up on, right?
And now you're haunted by a negative energy that may not be a spirit itself, but a manifestation rather.
But a manifestation.
Interesting. And we've actually discussed in the past, you and I, about how some of these places that are haunted by what people believe are dark forces are actually manifestations from people who have frequented those spaces and perhaps conjured up that energy or played in trying to summon that energy.
Absolutely. You know, and to be fair, I mean, we have done a few road trips, Hailey, where I've been like, this isn't evil. This is, you know, some little children that died of an illness, and they're just making their presence known. But because things go bump in the night, or because somebody had a flicker out of an eye, or a camera caught something, then it's fear.
It became this big.
And then everybody kind of added to the layer, into the layer, into the layer of fear.
Interesting. My mom had a question for you when she knew that we were doing a Q&A. Mama Reese had to jump in. She wants to know, when you communicate with animals, how is it that you hear what they want to share with you? She wanted to know specifically, do you hear human voice? Do you hear ruff ruff? This was her words. Or is it an energy? Or do you see, like, how do they communicate with you?
Great question. Animals are telepathic, and they communicate energetically. So when I tap into an animal's energy and start communicating with them, it changes. So number one, it can be I can literally hear a voice, and it will be their voice, their energetic voice. So it could be whether they tell me, you know, a past story, or I'm scared. Then they will also go very similar to how I work with mediumship. I will say, show me what hurts, and I will feel it. So it's energetic with the communication back and forth. If I say to them, you know, tell me your story, if I'm working with a rescue, I will have an awareness of, I've got something, I'm tied to something, or I'm cold, or I'm on the streets. They will share it in like pictures. They will send me like images and pictures that I will literally see in my mind's eye.
So it's almost like, could they play, this is how I'm picturing it anyway, almost like a movie for you, where you can see through their eyes or through their feelings what they experience.
Exactly. And because it's energy based, so because I'm tapping into their energy and they're blending with mine, you don't get a complete story like, I lived on this side road in a brick house, and I had a barn in the backyard, and then this happened to me. It would be simply, this happened to me, and I might pick up on trees or something around.
So interesting that you said this. I'm going to bring this up. I had seen an animal communications encounter for you where I believe it was a cat was missing. And they kept showing you some sort of cave, was it? Or rock structure, something to do with stones.
Yes.
And it wasn't resonating with the owner at the time, but that's how the feline was showing it to you. And come to find out, they were exactly in a space that was exactly as they described it.
So the cat was actually in Spain.
Wow.
Not even local. So that's the energy. I don't have to be in front of the animal. I just have to connect. So I connect to this person's cat, and my first question is, where do I feel them?
Yeah.
Here, heaven, or here. So, and I felt them, they were here. So then I tapped into how I felt. So I felt cold, I felt hungry, and I felt like I had like damp rocks around me. So the animal was showing me, and I felt like I was in a cave.
Right.
So and I described it as a feeling. So as I'm describing it to the owners of this cat, they're like, well, there's no caves here, there's no caves here. And I'm like, I'm adamant, and I don't feel far from home. I can see my house. I don't feel far. And it wasn't making sense to them.
Yeah.
And then it was literally like, I think it was a couple hours later, they went out to their backyard, and their backyard had a great big rock wall made out of concrete blocks, like huge rock wall. And they were like, that's what she meant.
And that's sure enough where the cat
and that's
was.
where they found the cat.
But that also, speaking of, and this is another video that we had filmed, is also a testament to your integrity, because you didn't waver on what the cat was showing you. You were adamant on what you were seeing, what you were experiencing. And though it didn't resonate then, later it was like, oh gosh, like that's exactly what Lana saw.
I won't, because the description of it, because the cat's not going to say, go down the stairs to the backyard, walk 10 paces to the left, and I'm going to be there in a rock wall. It's energy. So they communicate by showing me and their perception, right? Their perception of it. So and I remember giving a description. I feel like I'm in like an old unfinished basement with the walls.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
Or I feel like I'm in a cave. I could feel that's how it felt. So they communicate energetically and with images or with feelings. So I literally remember feeling like the walls, I could touch them.
Yeah.
That's why I thought I was in a cave. So that's how they...
And I mean, I guess to the cat, they were in a cave of sorts.
Yeah.
That's how they would describe it, right?
Absolutely.
It's experience-based. Lana specifically works a lot with horses, which they're very spiritual animals as well, and their way of communication that you've shared with me has been fascinating to learn about.
Horses pretty much were my teachers. They navigated this with me, because I literally was at a farm one day and went, I can hear you.
I can hear you. And what was it like? I gotta ask you this, and then we'll move on to another question. What's it like for the animals when they realize that you can communicate with them? Is it normal for them? Do they feel as though they're trying to telepathically communicate with all of us and you just so happen to hear it? Or do they know the difference for you?
So they do know the difference. They do keep trying. And when you think about your own pets, they can send you a look or a feeling. Or have you ever thought of a word like walk without saying it?
And they know.
And the dog runs to the door?
Yeah.
Right? So it's energy. They hear our thoughts. They tap into what certain things feel like. But the animals, it's profound. I've got animals that have never met me before, and literally, as I'm a kilometer away, they'll run to the fence.
How do you see spirit? Like for you, is it her words? Is it as though you see me right now, or is it more so within your mind's eye? I know it's forever changing for you, but
it varies and there's so many variables. It can depend on how I'm feeling. If I'm under the weather and can't sustain the energy, so in order to see them, they're using an energy to project who they were when they were here.
Right.
Because who they are when they cross over is the soul. There's no more physical.
Right.
So they're using an energy and I'm using an energy. It's kind of like a blended energy. Sometimes I just see like a glimpse, or just their face, or just a part of them, or how they pass, or just for a moment. Sometimes I see them. I wouldn't say I see them like you.
Yeah.
They have more. If I do see all of them, it does have a transparent kind of, I don't want to say you can see through them, but you can see. They're very transparent.
Like there's a distinctive difference that if you're in the grocery store, you can look and say, that's spirit, that's not.
Absolutely.
You never mistake them for a human.
Not mistake them, but I have had experiences where a spirit has come to me in human form.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, I didn't know that. What was that?
Absolutely.
Like?
It's like literally sitting with an earth angel. Like literally presenting themselves for a conversation. I have had that, but that was more of a thing for me.
Right, and when you touch on that, I've always believed, actually, Graham's instilled in me from a young age that we walk among angels in disguise, and at times, sometimes that homeless person that you cross on the street is truly an angel, or
absolutely.
Sometimes the people that we pass that help our days, and so spirit is, in fact, at times.
Yeah, and sometimes I do see them depending on how fast or where I am, because remember, if I'm not plugged in, so like if I'm like doing the dishes or driving my car and I'm not intentionally plugged in, I may get a glimmer of a shadow. I may see a flicker behind me. And then I just tap in. What was that? Oh, so a dead person. Okay. So it does. It also depends on where I am as well.
Right.
And
so you can sometimes experience it the way that a viewer might experience it. You're just able to tap into it after.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. And that leads me into another question that somebody asked here that I thought was really, really interesting.
I love these questions, you guys.
And this one's really good.
Okay.
That is, when in purgatory, do you have choice to be an orb or to appear as a physical body? Do spirits have a choice in the way in which they present themselves? So if somebody sees an orb or somebody sees a shadow, or is it more so, like you said, dependent on the experience?
So again, and I'm always okay with this answer. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure if it's a choice or if it's the energy at the time.
Interesting.
So I truly don't know that for sure. So I do feel when I'm channeling, I can see spirit in many different ways. If I'm not tapped in, and sometimes, maybe you're not tapped in, you kind of get a movement, and sometimes we see them full on, right? So I don't know. I think it's more based on energy because it takes so much energy for them to show themselves like that.
That's what I was going to say. Recently when I was researching some spiritual and paranormal cases, it was stating that a lot of times when you see them manifest into that type of form, it's taken a lot of energy, sometimes even a lot of acknowledgement from you that's feeding that energy to allow it to manifest, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll never forget this reading that I did a long time ago. I literally looked down on my lap and I could literally see a 3-year-old toddler on my lap, complete, where I literally had to go like this to see if he was real.
Wow.
But it was just the back. Once he turned to face me, he became more of that, that angelic kind of transparent kind of, limb. It's kind of how I can describe it. But I don't feel that they necessarily have the choice. I feel it's energetic based and situational.
What is it like, Lana, to live in a way that spirits hopping in the back seat of your car? Is it just so normal to you now?
It is so, it's magic. It is pure magic, right? And it's incredible. I do, though, still get caught off guard every now and again.
Yeah.
Right? And I've got a jokester that hangs out with me every now and again. He likes to dodge. He likes to dodge across my rear view backup camera when I'm backing my truck up. I'll be backing up my truck up, and there he is.
Oh, what a little brat.
Yeah, he's just, he is a little brat. He's just hanging out with me, right? So, but I get up in the morning and there may be a lady in my kitchen just hanging out. Who's passing? Let's chat.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
So to you, it's just become your normal, and you never become afraid.
No, I have no fear with that.
That was a common question, was whether or not you become afraid.
No.
In your experience, where do we go when we die? This is a really good extension of it. Am I still an individual, or do we truly go into one consciousness? Because that sounds terrifying, to lose my sense of self. And I've actually thought about this.
Beautiful question. So again, I can only share from my experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the soul is individual.
Okay.
So, and I do feel like with every journey, you may have, a different energy or a different experience. Let me reword that. You may come here and face different experiences, and choice and free will is a part of that.
Right.
But I feel like the essence of your soul is who you really are. Right. So I don't feel, and nor did I experience that with my own time in the spirit dimensions when I died and crossed over.
You still felt a sense of self.
I felt a very big sense of self. Is there a collective energy and like a consciousness and a oneness? That oneness doesn't mean that we're all one. It means like one as far as one individual. It's more of a togetherness. Is probably a better word. I wish that we could kind of get used to using. It's a togetherness. It's a collective. It's a consciousness. But I truly feel, and when I channel souls, this is a great conversation, Hailey. When I channel souls, I channel them as to who they were when they were here.
And that's interesting to me, because when I even read this question, I resonate with asking that question, because this doesn't come from a place of ego or vanity. I hope that spirit could share that with you, but I really enjoy being the version of myself that I'm becoming in this lifetime. And so it's almost like I find myself mourning this individual when I do cross on and become this higher consciousness, because I imagine there's endless parts of me, endless versions of me that have existed throughout the human experience.
Yep.
Do we still feel like, is the Hailey that I am still a big part of that higher consciousness of myself? Or when I go up there, is it so much more than I could even fathom?
It is going to be so much more than you can even fathom, because I swear those, the second experience was 16 years ago. So, and the first one was 17 or 18 years ago. So I still process that. But remember, you're here on a journey to learn and grow, and your soul's learning and growing with you.
Right.
You take that information with you. So it doesn't, you don't lose who you are, but you gain that. So your soul, when we cross over, will then go into, if there's any healing that you need to do, almost like a school.
Right.
You will go like back to school or learning pod and kind of heal and learn and grow. And all of that beautiful things that you've learned and grow here is part of you.
That's really interesting.
Great questions.
They have great questions
They're asking
today.
great questions.
No, truly. This is another really awesome question. Somebody wants to know, can I become a medium, or do I have to be naturally born one?
You are all already connected to spirit. Each and every one of you. Each and every one of you has come from source energy, and you connect with source energy. Just think of little things with your intuition. Just think with, when you use your spidey senses. We've just been programmed to lean more into the physical world rather than to our spiritual senses.
Right.
So you can learn to develop and to grow your mediumship, your healing abilities. We all have a unique way of connecting. I think one of the big misconceptions that people have is they want to learn how, like, so-and-so does it. They want to learn how so-and-so does it. And they don't embrace how they do it. You have a very personal relationship with source energy.
I love that you touched on that, because I think in all avenues of life, so often we see something working for someone else and we're like, I want to emulate that. I want to walk in their footsteps. When they should be an inspiration to you, but you should go on your own soul's journey. So I can look at you and you inspire me in all ways, but the way that I connect with spirit may be slightly different than the way that you do, and neither one is good or bad.
Absolutely. And you have your own inspiring connection and energy and things to teach. And I will correct my students, and they'll tell you, if they're watching, they will tell you, I will correct them every single time if they say, but I don't work just like you, or so-and-so channels it that way. You have to step out of that. It is your unique connection to source energy.
And can that not place a block on people as well when they try so hard to achieve it how they feel it should be done, rather than just doing what feels good to them?
Yeah, because they get discouraged. So
Right.
they start to perceive that they're not good enough. They start to, it's almost like, I think we can all relate to something like this. Have you ever thought, oh, I wish I looked just like that person, or was as skinny as that person? And no matter what you do, you can't achieve that waistline or that hair color, or it's the same thing with the mediumship. That is your unique physical body, right? So it is your unique connection. And when people will get really discouraged because they're not channeling the way so-and-so does, and they also struggle with putting in the dedication. People forget that I've been doing this, and I'll say to my students, when did you start? And I'll be like, 2 months ago. And I'll say, I have been nurturing this for like a very, very, very long time.
And you've learned what works for you, what doesn't work for you, the boundaries you have to set, the way in which you channel, trial and error. And anything that you embark on in life, there's going to be things that work for you that don't.
Yep, it's like learning how to drive. When you first get behind the wheel, you struggle. After years of experience, you're developed. It's your unique relationship with spirit. It's your unique relationship with your spirit guides, and your own unique experience with yourself.
I love that. Somebody wants to know what your first impression of me was. You can be honest. So really quickly, so many of you have been asking me recently how Lana and I met. And actually, ironically, one of my relatives had went to one of Lana's, what was it? What would you call it? Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on what you do.
Was it an event?
It was an event.
Like platform?
Yeah, and you had read her, and her mother had come through, and she called me and was like, Hailey, I know that you were like dying to see a real evidential medium, somebody who truly connects and is authentic, and she's the real deal. And so I booked a reading and we just connected from there. But what was your first impression?
So we met on Zoom, right?
We did.
Okay, so I don't remember the reading at all, the spirit takes it. So,
I know that you had told me that you saw that I had a guide that was a fairy and that wasn't as common to see, and so you were kind of excited about that.
And your energy, when I, recall back the sweetness and the gentleness and the openness. It was just, you were so real, and it was just like whatever I had to say, you were open to hear it.
Oh, I love it.
There was no, I didn't feel the expectation. I didn't feel like you came and I had to prove anything to you. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel that at all. Energetically, it was like this sweet, loving soul across the Zoom screen. And I feel like I connected with you really easily.
I have a question here that I know you've touched on in another video of ours, but it's asked a lot, so I'll ask you again to briefly touch on it. They really want to know if you've ever felt something so negative that you've gotten scared yourself.
Scared? No. Mm-hmm. Double up on protection? Yes.
Mm-hmm. And something I wanted to touch on too is, people will say, I don't need to go protected to a haunted location. No, technically you don't. Same way you don't have to walk on a construction site protected, but it's really wise to do so.
Well, and protection can be your belief system.
Yeah.
Right? So your protection can be something as simple as, yes, I feel energy and I'm not worried because nothing's gonna harm me. I'm not open to that. That can be protection. I'm not open to receive that energy. Mm-hmm. I'm not open to tap into that. If you don't have some kind of guard up or shield up and don't know what you're opening yourself up to, things can kind of have an impact on you. Absolutely.
Definitely.
And it can be something as simple as whatever's going on here, I know I'm protected. That can be protection. It doesn't have to be a big woo-woo ritual.
Do you ever feel mentally exhausted from the weight of talking to spirits and energy?
If I don't look after myself, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't make sure that I'm getting enough sleep, I'm eating a healthy diet, that I'm give myself processing time, then yeah, it can be draining. It has to be some boundaries when it comes to people sometimes, but also boundaries with myself.
That's interesting. I never thought of it that way.
Absolutely, because I will pack my calendar with physical world stuff, right? I like to be involved, whether it be
you want to help everyone too,
I
feel like you take on absolutely as much as you can.
Yeah.
And then you look at your schedule for the month and you're like, wow, Lana.
Yeah, well, it's like, full plate. And then there's my physical world side with, with family and sports, and I love to coach, and so I'll load up and it's like I can't breathe. So I have to be very consciously aware, and my self-care is huge. Mm-hmm. If I'm self-care and doing well that way, I don't feel it. I also use a lot of spirit's energy versus my own too. Have
you ever had a situation where a spirit has come into your space and wouldn't leave?
When I say that they wouldn't leave, it's not in a dark way. So right. I want to be very clear with that. But it happened when the spirit was trying to teach me things. So I have had spiritual teachers come from the spirit dimensions to help teach me things. Now, without leaving, I would say, not in a bad way or a bad boundary way, but I've had a spirit that was in my kitchen for several months every morning that had to have a talk with me, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm good. And no, you're not good. Yeah, I'm good. It's like, no, we're not good. You're not understanding us. So I have had spiritual teachers that have come that kind of didn't necessarily want to leave.
Yeah.
I've had spirits that love to hang out with me. For no reason. It's like, can I help you? No, we're just hanging out. I have had that quite a bit, but I wouldn't say in a heavy or dark way or in a negative way that way at all. Never. But hang out.
Just like overstaying their welcome.
Overstaying their welcome, yes.
Oh, okay. Do you find that
it's those kids from
That's what I was just gonna say. Do you find that it's because they finally see someone that can hear them, that can validate their experience, and so it's like, why do I want to stay here where there's nobody who understands me when I can go with this woman and she hears me.
Yeah, and they are always all around too, right? So, if I and remember, there are times where I literally say, okay, I'm out, and I literally unplug for a bit, and and I wouldn't see them necessarily.
So are you able to shut it off then when you?
For the most part, yeah, unless they really need to speak with me, right?
And then you would know, like, hey, I gotta put whatever aside.
Yeah. They get my attention that way, right? So whether it be moving things or tapping me, or usually it's this feeling across my head, then I know I need to plug back in. But those kids from Fergus, I mean, I told them to go home a few times, and they would quiet down until I wouldn't hear them. And then they would act up, and they were just playing in my house. But I literally had to say, all right, you guys in the truck, and I had to drive them the 45 minutes back.
What messages do spirits often try to convey to the living that's common in your readings?
So I think from the mediumship part, I think what's really, really common is we want you to keep living. We want you to keep going on your journey. We're with you. That is very common, because quite often after losing a loved one, people don't want to continue living, whether that be a wife or a husband or a partner, or a parent. Like they want us to continue living, and they don't want us to have the guilt with living. They want us to be happy. So that comes up all the time. The other thing that comes up all the time is they are okay. They're okay. Us living people struggle with, are they all right over there? Did they find peace? Did they find their way? So that is also really, really, really common.
Have you channeled those that were skeptics in the physical world and crossed on, and have they had a profound message to share of life after death?
Yeah, absolutely. and also people who have had, who made, let me reword that, who made really bad decisions here or did really bad things here. So there's a difference between, when you channel a soul that did horrible things in the physical world, that doesn't mean that they're a dark entity in the spirit dimensions.
So I have a question for you that you may or may not be able to answer, and no pressure, obviously. When we look at, so we talk about soul contracts, right? We talk about how we come down here and we essentially have an overall purpose that we want to follow, like whether it's I want to pursue a career in law, or I want to go into medical, or whatever it may be. When we look at someone like Ted Bundy, do you feel as though that is, so quickly for those watching, I've done a lot of research recently into why bad has to exist at times within our world in order for there to be a contrast in our soul's growth. Did someone, in your opinion, like Ted Bundy, come down here with the intention of becoming a serial killer, or is that perhaps choice and free will? Or does it vary?
So I like how you gave me an option. So it does vary, but for the most part, it's choice and free will. And there are things that happen in the physical world that are, it's not the spirit dimension's fault, because I've had spirits say, hey, that wasn't our fault that they did that, or they went off the rails. Or
I'm so glad you say that.
Yeah, the spirit has said, like, don't blame everything on us, or this was predetermined, or if there is a spirit dimension, why did they let this happen, right? Because that's the other big thing. Are there, in some cases, things are predetermined in soul contracts? Yes, but I don't believe the darkness is right. So, and again, I would never say that I have all the answers. But
in your experience.
In my experience, and I've taken this to spirit, like, what the heck?
Yeah,
right?
When you see the darkness in the world, it makes you wonder. However, I have been doing a lot of reading recently, and in one of the books that I read, it was actually a neurosurgeon's journey into the afterlife, which was fascinating because he had seen patients with near-death experiences and ruled it to the science, the medical aspect. When he had his own, he had a whole new perspective. However, he went on to state that in order to have true free will, we have to have the choice to do the horrific. We have to have the choice to go on and do the unimaginable, unthinkable. And is it unfortunate that transpires in our world? Absolutely. Yeah. But it helped me to understand it a little more, because I couldn't understand how Spirit So Loving could allow for their children essentially to come down here and do what they do.
Absolutely. And there are some things that are really hard to understand, right? As you know, it's why people do what they do. You know,
I'm sure you even struggle with that.
Where things went wrong, or, you know, in that click kind of thing, right? Like the whys of the physical world. And Spirit has said that is physical world choice and free will. That was not engraved in a script that was going to happen. Now that being said, 'cause I've said, well, what happens to the 10 buddies of the world? Like what happened? There is a huge karmic, you know, thing that gets handled over there, right?
My question is kind of morbid, but stay with me. Does Lana have a sense of or know when people are going to die? Does she get any help from the other side as to whether someone's time may be up or if they could change their path? Thanks, guys. Can't wait for this Q&A.
Great question. So yes and no. So number one, I have had Spirit tell me certain things like you need to get prepared, right? You know, I've only ever gotten a very, very few exact dates, right? So, but I have gotten a heads up from Spirit that if you don't change your choice in free will, this is the path you're going down. So, you know, with that, yes, they will help and they will guide because they do want us to do our best with our experiences here as well. I have had, especially with the medical mediumship that I do, where I will get a strong sensation, you need to go and get your stomach looked at. And with that, there's been a discovery of a health issue that somebody may be able to change, whether it be lifestyle, it can be a heads up, right? It can be like that morning call or that wake up call, you know, and I have, you know, sometimes it's just a feeling. I've walked past people in public and it's like, well, they're not here for much longer.
What would you tell somebody who has a fear of dying?
I think sometimes the fear of dying is the physical fear of dying. For the most part, I think that as we're crossing over, because I've seen it over and over again, where you can see peace come through a person when they're having a realization that my loved ones are here to get me. I feel that, you know, when it comes to the death part, there truly isn't anything to fear, even if you don't have a strong belief system or any belief system. You know, there's only love, there is only peace, there is only healing. There, you know, that is what is there for us when we cross over.
And I think a lot of my viewers, they've mentioned to me that a lot of them, when they tap into the spiritual side of them, they feel a lot of shame around the parts of their life they aren't necessarily proud of. So people, for an example, who may have come out of something like addiction or anger problems or lows or depressions and maybe acted in a way that wasn't in their highest self, they're now scared to go to Spirit or find Spirit because they feel like there would be judgment on the way in which they lived. How does Spirit approach things like that?
So I can answer this very, very honestly because I've sat with my own spirit council when I died. So when I sat with my spirit council and I had my own life review and I got to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, I was held in love in that. Right. So, and I think our physical world struggles here. You know, Spirit has a lot of pride for us for overcoming our battles and for overcoming, you know, the addictions or overcoming, you know, the bad choices. And when you think about the healing work and taking those lessons and helping other people, I mean, that is huge and powerful. Right. And if we don't overcome those struggles before we leave here, we are greeted with love and understanding. It's almost like, you didn't do so great. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at how this went, and let's take a look at where you kind of went left, right? Where you kind of ventured off of your path here, and let's heal that. And then we go to, I can just best describe it as like little learning schools. We're like homeschooling for the soul. We're gonna go over here, and we're gonna heal, and we're gonna work, and we're gonna come back and try it again. And you're gonna be given a depth of how, or be shown how deeply powerful your soul and your energy is. So you're going to get an opportunity to truly feel that. And when you look at how far you've come, would you say you've come far on your self-worth over the years?
Oh, absolutely. Night and day. And now I would say I can understand from my space now why, like, looking back in my really dark years, I would cry to Lana being like, I'm not understanding where I'm growing any further from this. I'm ready for this chapter to close for me. and you would say, Hailey, there's so much growth to be had here. There's so much juicy learning. And now I look back and I'm like, I can totally see how that was for my soul's growth. Like I can see how much I had to step into myself and my voice and come at it in
You're
confidence.
already using that dark experience to help other people and to help yourself heal too. Like, you know, like you're so profound in encouraging people to show up and, you know, as they are and love themselves. So you're using all of that experience to help and heal.
At what age did you know that you had special abilities, and what was that experience first like?
So I think for the longest time, I just kind of felt everybody could see and do, and I didn't realize I was different for a long time. You know, because I kind of went in and out of it too. There was a little bit of that. I mean, I had some normal teenage stuff too. I think I truly knew and understood my connection. I would say, I don't know if I can really pinpoint. I'd say that between the ages of an awareness of it, 7 to 12.
Okay.
Did I understand what I was going to do with it or know what I was going to do with it? No, I didn't. You know, and then there was that whole, am I crazy and what am I going to do? And I don't know if I want to, I talk to dead people. So I kind of used it more as a compass to help navigate life, right?
Yeah. How can somebody who's new to this connect with their spirit guides?
So if working with spirit guides is something that really interests you, you kind of have to, number one, look at it like I'm meeting a new friend. And without necessarily having to know their name, what they're like, just kind of like tapping into, I know you're here and thanks for coming, and this is what I want to share. I'm feeling this way. This is you know, can you help me with this? It's kind of like building a friendship bond.
Right.
The more that we kind of learn to trust, then the magic starts to unravel. The one thing with humans, and you know, and this comes up all the time, and it even came up with me with one of my spirit guides, is we want to know their name, we want to know who they are, and we mean it in a loving way. And spirit is more of, you just have to trust the process. You just have to trust, and they're trying to teach us to trust. Us physical world want proof. Show me, show me, show me, show me, show me, show me, right?
Yeah.
So I think when you lean into, I'm just going to trust and start working with you. I'm going to trust and start asking you. I'm going to ask you to come with me. I'm going to ask you for protection. I'm going to talk to you about my feelings, kind of like a friendship. And then it builds from there. That is a shortcut in.
Amazing. Well, the final question I'm going to conclude on is one that a lot of people were asking.
Okay.
And that is, being here in my new condo, do you sense anything spooky, any spirits, or what do you feel energetically here?
So the energy here is very crisp and very clean.
Woo! I love that.
and it feels, I feel, I don't feel any spirits here. Like as far as like from filming and stuff, I don't feel any entities here. I feel a lot of, it's almost like every day, and I keep seeing this like new page turning. Oops, sorry. New page, break the table on here. It's almost like new page. It's almost like you're getting up every day with this, okay, new day, let's try again.
Yeah.
New day, let's do it again, right?
That's how it's been for me lately.
Yeah, that's how it feels. I mean, when I tap in to different versions of yourself, I feel contentment here.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm content here. I don't feel like off the charts, if that makes sense. I don't feel like I'm not sure. I feel like I'm happy.
I'm very, very content here, and I would be content staying here indefinitely. That's where I'm at right now. I don't foresee myself going anywhere. It's like, it's the first time that I feel like home roots, where I'm like, this is my space, and I don't feel, but you did see in my one video, the blanket being yanked off the chair. Did you sense anything around that, or was it just a strange happening that you saw?
So that doesn't mean though that an entity or a spirit stayed here.
Oh no, absolutely not.
Right. So I don't feel that. So do I feel it? I do feel spirit was in that video with you. I watched that. I kept going back over it. I kept like feeling it, watching it, feeling it, watching it, and I'm like, oh, there's a playful little spirit there. It almost had the feeling of like Casper.
Do you know what's funny you say that? ever since I started this Halloween series, that's why I wanted to ask you this as well. I've been feeling like the playful side of spirit is back within my content and back within my life. Before, it was like that. And then I started going down into the darker, it started getting a little spooky, and now everything's so positive and lighthearted that even when things turn up missing around here, I'll be like, you cheeky little spirit. Like, it's funny things, but I've never felt the space is haunted. It feels more so when I talk about certain subjects or certain things, spirit's intrigued because what we're putting out is that I'm open to this stuff and therefore it's gonna...
I also feel, I'm gonna ask you this, I also feel, since you've moved here, this is my first time here.
Yeah, first time.
In a new space. So I also feel that you've gotten better of letting go. So it's almost like, okay, I can let that go. Oh, that happened, I can let that go.
One thing that I've struggled with in this earthly experience is holding on to things that no longer serve me. Experiences, people, just energies. I'm a little bit of a hoarder, and it translates in my spirit where I like to hold on to things. I struggle with holding on, and I need to release, and it's something that I've been practicing recently is if it's out of my control, there's nothing that I can do to change it, then it is what it is, and I have to just accept that.
See, and that has a light energy, right? So when we're struggling to to not let go, or struggling with our own healing, or we're struggling with with the physical world, it has like a heavy static feeling to me. Yes, we all have lessons, and we're all learning, and we're all tripping and falling sometimes. But I feel like it's more of a lighter for you now. I feel like it's like, all right, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else.
I'm tapping into the energy of like, oh, well, it's fun, it's life, things happen. And will it always be like that? Probably not. But Gramps was going to pass no matter what. How I chose to deal with it wasn't always help. I really became a recluse almost, and I let it take down my energy and almost stopped living in a lot of ways. But now I'm framing it in, she had to pass no matter what. Her time was done. Let's talk to her from this side. Let's, I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but I'm trying to just accept that I couldn't change that and that my relationship with her is different now.
Yep.
But it's not non-existent. And you know what's funny, Lana, and I have a question for you actually to conclude on. Do you find that there's peace in knowing that your relationship with those that you love changes as they pass? Or do you still even find difficulty in that at times? What I mean by this is with Grams, like, I can accept that my whole life I've believed in the other side. I've known that when our loved ones pass, it's not the end, that they're truly still with us, but it's different when it's you. I think sometimes when you're mourning, when you're grieving, it's hard. It was harder for me to pull myself out and say, but she's still here, even though I knew it.
But you gotta remember too, you're human.
Yeah.
So, I think that no matter what we know, it's the losing someone that we love dearly still hurts. And you gotta always remember that it's still, it still hurts, even though
Yeah.
And, it's very different, and we do have to go through the grieving process, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that we go through that impacts us in many different ways. So, so I don't feel that just because we're spiritual, it might be easier. Right? So, because it's still someone that you love very much in the physical world, and it is a very different type of relationship. And we learn how to connect with them, we learn how to move forward, and they want us to move forward, but it's completely different, right?
And I guess that's one thing that we'll never fully understand until our time comes. But that's where you have that deeper understanding, is you've experienced the other side of it, where I think as humans, we overthink a lot.
I didn't want to come back. I was like, see ya, honey. I was like, and I have a good life here. Like, it was like, so it's just a profound experience. And, very recently I lost, a very, very good friend of mine. Sat with her for many, many, many days, while she waited the transition into passing. And I think, when we said our goodbyes before she left the physical world, and I reminded her of so many beautiful things, and the friendship I knew wasn't over, I still said to her, you better connect to me.
And did she?
And she did. Yeah, absolutely. And I remember when she passed, feeling sad and, reminiscing, and I kept saying, where are you? Right? And, I'm a medium. It still took me some time to feel her, and I had to work through that sadness, and then I was like, there you are, right? But I have a very different outlook on that, on death, when I'm around it a lot. But there's still that human side to me. I still miss the physical world best friend.
Yeah, I bet. And again, it's, I guess in a way that's still mourning your loved one in a sense, because it's still them now, but it's their heightened, all of them, like all of their soul, all of their past lives journeys, just everything intertwined. And so while your friend is still there and very much with you, it's a different version of your friend.
It's a different version of our friendship. And, I went into that very easily, but that doesn't mean that I didn't feel the physical loss, right? So, but it's magical when your bestie from up there is helping you down here.
This was so much fun, Lana. Thank you so much for answering. I'm sure you guys have millions more questions. And again, as usual, ask Lana over on her channel. Send her a message. Follow her everywhere that you can. Book a reading if you're able to, or if it's something that you've been wanting to. And honestly, thank you, Lana.
Yeah, this was so much fun.
I have so much fun with you every time I'm with you.
You have great followers,
They're the best.
I've met some of you. How'd you hear about me? Hailey, Boni, Hailey. Like this, people are just like hearts of gold love you.
No, truly, I honestly believe from the bottom of my heart, I have one of the greatest communities, and the way that you guys just embrace the people that I love and care about with such open arms. I've only ever brought people that are near and dear and like true to my heart on my channel, but just to see the love and the kindness and the way that you guys love Lana just as much as I do, it's incredible, and I just love growing this community. So
thanks, Hails.
You guys have not seen the last of Lana. We have tons of videos that we are filming. We filmed one prior here that you'll be seeing, and we're also heading out on an investigation. Lana has no clue where she's going. We're just bringing her, and so keep your eyes peeled. Make sure you're subscribed to Lana, the Hawk, and I. She's also active over on Facebook. Make sure to follow her there. And thank you so much for coming on here, Lana. We so appreciate
Thanks, you guys.
And we love you very much. We'll see you guys in our next video. Bye, guys.
Much love.